Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I have some exciting news. I have right here in front of me Buhr'S new prototype glacier. And if you don't know about it, it is Buhr'S new mid-range, and it's supposed to be like a method, but a good bit amount straighter and a little bit faster. I'm really excited to do this review because one, Buhr obviously one of, if not the best player in the world right now. Another main reason why I'm super excited to make this video is because this is supposed to fly kind of straight to slightly stable, and that is exactly how I like my mid-ranges. I throw them super flat and kind of just expect the disc to try to fly straight. So for example, my favorite mid currently in my bag is probably this big Z Buhr's. It's really stable, slightly more stable than the typical Buhr's. Probably instead of flight numbers of 5.4, -1.1, I would expect this to probably be like 5.4, -0.5, 1.5, or 2. I can trustingly throw it out flat and expect it to go straight. And that is exactly what this glacier is supposed to do. However, I got this disc from my buddy and he coins it as a 5.5 speed. So it goes further than a Buhr's, but flies the same as a Buhr's, which is really interesting to me because the only reason I throw this Buhr's because it likes to go straight. It's kind of resistant to a little bit of headwind, and it'll always have that finish at the end, which I really like. Now, another very popular mid-range is the Hex. Arguably one of the best-selling mid-ranges on the disc golf market right now. And I used to like the Hex a little bit. It goes, I would say, 20 to 30 feet further than a Buhr's. However, it kind of has a little bit more understability, and it's slightly more unpredictable when it's really windy. So that's why I rely on a Buhr's much more than I do a Hex. And if this disc combines the best of the Buhr's and the Hex, this is definitely something I would consider putting in my bag. So basically gonna try it out today, see how it flies. Now, taking a look at the glacier, you can see that it's pretty flat. First thing I noticed though is how aggressive this concave is in the parting line. I would say comparative to other mid-ranges, I don't really typically see this unless the disc is really overstable. In the hand, it feels kind of like a Buhr's, honestly, maybe more like rock-esque. Besides that, the plastic is extremely gummy, a lot gummier than typical mid-ranges, I would say, or than a typical Star or Neutron or ESP plastic from other companies. So interesting shape. I think it's probably one of the more unique shapes. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that looks similar. But comparing that to my Buhr's, you can see kind of less aggressive on the concave in the parting line. Definitely much flatter. I specifically picked out this mid-range because I like how flat it is. And the plastic is fairly gummy, but not as gummy as that Glacier prototype. And then lastly, you can compare it to the Hex. Super board flat. And you can see there's almost like little to no concave here. And it's easily the most shallow, I believe, of the discs, which makes it pretty useful for people that really like flat discs, have smaller hands, or like forehanding discs. It makes it very comfortable, as Jeremy Colling does with his Hexes. But I am excited to compare all these and see how they fly. So let's test it and see if the prototype Glacier is the best of both worlds of this Hex and the Buhr's I just showed you. So let's see. All right, so we're here in the fields. First, I'll show you how this Buhr's flies. Then I'll show you how the Hex flies and see if the Glacier is the best of both worlds for each of these discs. Now, I don't have a mic, sadly. I believe my transmitter broke, so I'm sorry if the audio quality is not so good, but I still want to make this video for you guys so you guys can see how good the Glacier really is. So the Buhr's first. The end of the field is probably like 380 feet. So threw that about 70-ish%, and you can see right on my hand, I threw it a little bit of the hyzer, but it wanted to just hold that line and just fade out. No thoughts of even flipping up. Next, let's try the Hex and try to throw it similar. Threw it lighter. Same amount of hyzer though, and you can see. Same amount of hyzer, and you can see the disc wanted to flip up a little bit and drift to the right. And I was still only throwing about 60-70%. So let's see if this disc kind of emulates the flight of that Buhr's, but goes a little bit further. Yeah, so first throw with the Glacier. Let's see how it flies. Oh my goodness. So it definitely emulates the same flight as that Buhr's. If anything, it's actually a little bit more stable. My buddy says it flies similar to a Buhr's, but I think based on that flight, I would say it's a tad more stable. I'm gonna get those discs, try to throw them a little bit harder and see how they react. So let's get those. All right, so you kind of saw all three of these flew. X, definitely the most flippy, and I was throwing it pretty light. So I'm gonna try to power up on all of these discs. You guys kind of see how far each of these go. First, let's go with the Buhr's. We'll keep the same order. I'm gonna try to throw it kind of like 90%, like a 90% golf shot. So for me, that'll probably go with a Buhr's. I'm going slightly downhill, so maybe 320-ish, maybe 330-ish if I'm powering it a little bit more. The hex, like I said, should probably go 340 to 350-ish. And we'll see how far that glacier goes. But we'll start with the Buhr's, and then I'll give you guys my honest reaction. So that was like controlled, maybe 85%. Went dead straight, had that little bit of fade at the end, even in a little bit of headwind. Let's try that with the hex. So you can see the disc is definitely glidier, but it wants to turn over on me, which I don't necessarily like. I'm not a hyzer thrower, so let's try to do the same here. Try to throw it a little bit harder than those others, maybe just like 5% harder, because it seemed more stable. So let's try and see how far this thing goes. I definitely threw it like 5 to 10% harder, and it definitely turned over, but it had a much stronger fade than the hex. Let's check those distances and see how they compare. So after collecting those discs, first thing that really surprises me is that this thing actually did hold pretty straight when I put a lot of power on it, and so it wanted to like push forward, but still had that stability at the end. So my buddy was kind of right in terms of it flying similar to a Buhr's. It almost flies a slightly more understable. I'm gonna throw it again one more time. So it had the same glide as the hex and maybe slightly less stable than the Buhr's when you put it on a lot of power. But like I said, I'll throw it one more time. That's just kind of like first thoughts. It's really interesting because I thought I threw it slightly flat on that first throw and it reacted like pretty stable comparative to the Buhr's, I thought. I mean, I don't know. Let's test this thing out one more time and then kind of give my final thoughts on this disc. All right, last throws with each. I'm just gonna try to pump this glacier as far as I can and see how far I can go in this headwind. So last throw, hoping to get it, maybe I can get it 350. That would honestly be pretty crazy for me. And it would be a PR probably with a mid-range, but let's try it out. Oh my gosh, that thing is just money. I felt like I threw it pretty similar to how I throw my Buhr's, but dang, it looks like it just wants to glide. Like, I don't know if it's some sort of placebo effect, but sure, we'll just compare it to this Buhr's because it has such a similar flight. So that was honestly a really good rip with my Buhr's. So let's compare those distances. Buhr's was kind of slightly more stable. Let's see if the glacier does fly further than the Buhr's. I guess here's my final thoughts on the disc. That last throw ended up being 350 feet as a view disc, so plus minus 11 feet or something like that. So definitely a disc that goes far. That Buhr's ended up being 325 feet plus minus 11 feet. So glacier definitely goes a little bit further, funny enough, and might have released that Buhr's on a little bit more hyzer, but still, I would say that this disc has definitely a touch bit more glide, or maybe, like my buddy said, a touch bit more speed. I personally think it doesn't necessarily feel faster in my hand. It feels like it just has more glide, more push. It honestly combines the best of both worlds from the hex, where you can get that extra glide, extra distance with the hex, but then have the control and stability of the Buhr's. So if you're looking for a mid-range with the best of both of those worlds, this is definitely your disc. I sadly believe there isn't a stock run of these discs yet. When they do come out, I am for sure going to put these in my store. For those of you that don't know, I own a disc golf shop called Disc Zone in Santa Cruz, California. And so when those come out, I'm definitely gonna have those in my shop. This honestly might be going in my bag. I don't think it's gonna replace my Buhr'S just yet because I have so much trust in it. Eventually, sometime down the road, this actually might replace my Buhr'S, which would be pretty sad, but honestly, this disc is just that good. Just to close it out, typically I would say I'm a person that throws around 64 miles per hour arm speed, and that translates to like maybe 420 feet of power when I'm actually throwing on the golf course, like in a tournament or something like that. Maybe I can get 450 if I'm throwing just like wide open shots. So for people that throw that 400 plus mark or that 65 miles per hour plus in the arm speed, this disc is definitely gonna fly like a Buhr'S. It'll fly, you might get a little bit of baby flip, ride straight, and then get some fade. It might be a little bit even more stable than a Buhr'S. And then, sorry, I should rephrase that. It might be a little bit more stable than a slightly more stable Buhr'S. An ESP Buhr'S might be a lot straighter. And for people that throw under 400 feet, it might be more like a slightly, or like a stable mid-range. So something to compare that to would be like a Rock for most people, or a brand new EMAC Truth. And then for people that are throwing maybe 300 feet or less, this will act kind of like a stable approach disc. So this disc will probably be like kind of like a Pyro or maybe a Buhr'S OS. But when this disc comes out, I can tell it's going to be super popular. Honestly, when it's all said and done, when this year's done, this might be one of the best releases of 2025. So I honestly can't wait for these to come into my shop. But that kind of does it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I didn't have a mic like I said earlier. I'm sorry if the audio quality isn't as crisp as usual. I'll definitely have that fixed by next video. Like I said, that kind of does it. I appreciate all the support from you guys over these past 6-7 months. My channel's been growing, and I really appreciate you guys when you like and subscribe. And if you even check out my disc golf store, that's a huge bonus too. I have some exciting stuff that I'm going to be posting really soon, so keep an eye out for that. But thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.